The internet can be weird.
My spoon is too big.
At its start, long before corporate media conglomerates controlled the online experience, the internet was like the Wild West, full of independent artists making weird, experimental videos, unencumbered by advertisers or studio heads. Browsing internet videos back in the day was a roll of the dice. Sometimes you hit gold, sometimes you were just traumatized. And thankfully, you can still find new, delightfully weird videos online if you know where to look. And their weirdness is exactly the point. Weird videos thrive on the internet because, with the exception of things like Adult Swim, they're the kind of videos that people don't get to see in traditional media. The viral hit My Spoon Is Too Big opens with a fake disclaimer that these animations got rejected from the fictional TV network The Family Learning Channel. By framing the video as unappealing to a family-friendly network, the video becomes more appealing to an online audience, because the viewer gets to see something that apparently could only exist on the internet, and not on advertiser-friendly television. As a result, a lot of viral internet videos feel like TV programs that could never make it to air. They take conventional media, ranging from children's shows to video games to political commentating, and present that media in ways we've never seen before. Because the end result of this reimagining ends up so strange and seemingly random, it's easy to dismiss these kinds of internet videos as just weird for the sake of being weird. But I think that sells some of them short. Many of these videos address big ideas, have a strong understanding of film language, and use that surreal weirdness to give their art greater meaning. To see what I mean, let's start with a classic.
Here's a story from North America.
The video Story from North America fits nicely into the weird internet video genre. It's got creepy animation, a catchy song, and quotable lyrics. Like many animated internet videos, it's partially a parody of older children's cartoons. It looks similar to the hand-drawn style of classic Schoolhouse Rock videos, and it similarly breaks the fourth wall to teach the viewer a new word. But the animation in this goofy video is much more intricate than the children's animation it's inspired by. Human hands are notoriously difficult to draw because they're so small and detailed. So in a lot of traditional animation, characters either wear gloves or have very simple fingers, oftentimes less than 5 fingers to save time.
5 fingers? Ooh, freak show.
But the characters in Story from North America not only have a full set of fingers, the fingers themselves are incredibly expressive and varied. It's easy to get lost in the weirdness of the animation and forget that a lot of the individual frames probably took hours to make. And shows like Schoolhouse Rock rarely do something as complicated as a hand-drawn, 3-dimensional camera move. In the same way that the animation goes further than a children's show, so too does the video's message. On the surface, the video seems to have a pretty simple message about not killing a spider and respecting all life. It sounds like something straight out of Charlotte's Web, but the video arrives at that message in a much more interesting way. The song uses a sort of Socratic back-and-forth dialogue between the dad and the son to arrive at the logical conclusion that there's no real justification for killing a spider. Charlotte's Web says that we should sympathize with the spider because she is an exceptional friend to the pig, but Story from North America says that spiders do not need to be exceptional to be protected. They're worthy of protection because we can see our own humanity in them. To treat spiders otherwise would be a great moral failing, showing how humanity's superiority complex leads to harmful pride and a thirst for blood. I particularly like this shot of Michelangelo's David breaking apart as the dad debunks his son's arguments. It shows how the dad's critique challenges the supposed superiority of the human form. This video is certainly too weird for television, but it's much more than that. The ambitious artistry and genuinely thought-provoking message go beyond the simpler television shows it's riffing on, and some people have gone even further with the video's main ideas. For example, if the video has such a universal theme, why is it called Story from North America? There's a theory online that suggests the story is an allegory for the United States' fear of nuclear annihilation. The standoff between the boy and the spider could symbolize the standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union. There's imagery to support this idea, like showing bombs with mushroom clouds, the Christian imagery, and the dad's fear that they will wake up the neighbors. I'm sure some people will scoff at the idea of giving this video such deep analysis, but why is that? I think videos like this one don't get looked at enough because they appear simple and childish, when in reality, they're as skillfully made and as full of meaning as any traditional media. But in terms of weirdness, this video is only the tip of the iceberg. Let's get weirder with one of the most famous weird internet videos of all time.
What's your favorite idea? Mine is being creative.
The first episode of the web series Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is another internet video in the style of a children's show. The video starts off with a seemingly innocent lesson on how to be creative, and descends into disturbing, surreal madness. The video shows the malice behind traditional kids programming. The sketchbook claims to be teaching how to be creative, but she never actually does. When the puppets do creative things on their own, she shuts them down, like when the yellow puppet paints his own picture, or when she decides that only certain colors are creative.
Green is not a creative color.
Instead of teaching individual creativity, she's teaching them to conform to her idea of creativity. When they're all staring at the clouds, they don't find anything exciting about them until the sketchbook puts on a monocle, and then they describe the clouds in unison. The insincerity of the lesson gets further exposed in this shot, when the camera does a 360 and reveals the production team making the show. It's such a jarring shot because it exposes an angle of the set we normally never see. It shows that behind the bright colors and carefree tone of a children's show, there's always a team in control, and their goal is often to maintain the status quo, not to teach anything new. The ensuing chaos exposes the malicious subconscious of children's programming that doesn't always have the best interest of the children in mind. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared came out over 10 years ago, but the ideas it addresses have aged incredibly well. It highlights the potential problems of not looking closely at the media we show kids. In a way, the video predicted future controversies on YouTube, like the scandal where videos got tagged as children-friendly but were actually completely inappropriate, sometimes even creepier than Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. And to this day, children's programming doesn't always have the best interest of children in mind. CoComelon is an incredibly popular kids YouTube channel, but its primary interest isn't to teach children valuable lessons like creativity. It's just to keep their attention and sell that child's attention to advertisers. The great thing about shows like Sesame Street is that the creators establish transparent goals for educating children on certain topics. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared exposes how kids often watch media that lacks the care or supervision we probably wished kids shows had. This video is a perfect example of how the weirdness of internet videos can make them more meaningful. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared isn't weird just for the sake of it. Its weirdness sheds light on the weirdness of actual children's programming. Story from North America and Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared are two older, weird internet classics. But even as the online world has become more and more corporatized, the genre lives on. Today's weird internet videos have continued to evolve while still retaining core elements of the genre. Nowadays, many weird animation videos use modern 3D animation software instead of hand-drawn or flash animation, and the new technology still achieves that classic internet creepiness. One great example of this new style is on the channel Amon Animations. Amon Animations is a political meme animation channel with bizarre, exaggerated depictions of political commentators. Like Story from North America and Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, Amon Animations is too weird for conventional media, and it similarly recontextualizes media that viewers are familiar with. In this case, it recontextualizes the political discourse we see online. The channel does have creepy children's cartoon animations, but it mostly incorporates nostalgia from video games like Metal Gear Solid. The videos often reference Metal Gear Solid directly, and reuse some of its visual motifs, like the glowing red eyes and the larger-than-life villainous characters. Also like Metal Gear Solid, Amon Animations has a strong understanding of film language. In the video Jordan Peterson 12 More Rules, Peterson travels between hallucinations as he grapples with an inner conflict. When the camera cuts, it makes sure to stay on one side of the space to keep the character's spatial relationship consistent. The video also maintains this continuity when switching between hallucinations to make the transition seamless. But when the tension starts to rise, the cuts get more frequent, and the camera breaks this spatial rule, jumping around to the actors in the exact same way that classic horror movies do it. The video also uses other horror techniques, like distorting the frame with dolly zooms and exaggerating human faces in impossible ways. But Amon Animations uses 3D software to go even further than conventional movies do. The dolly zoom and camera moves are even creepier and exaggerated, and from his very first video, he's made his characters larger than life by literally having them grow and shrink. And like other great weird internet videos, there's a meaning behind the weirdness. In Jordan Peterson 12 More Rules, Peterson has to choose between two paths for his life. His first option, which he describes in a speech, is to teach people to grow up like Pinocchio. He wants to help his followers break free of the strings that control them. But his other, more nefarious option is to join other reactionary pundits and cash in on his celebrity. Puppets are a recurring symbol in the video. Peterson says people start out as puppets and then become real beings. But ironically, his followers in the video act exactly like puppets, and they want Peterson to control them.
My master please wake up for us.
The conflict between controlling his followers for profit and helping them lose their strings reaches a crescendo when Peterson wakes up from his coma. On one side, there's a cow that has the same red eyes as the reactionary personalities. It's a literal cash cow that grows larger as it tells Peterson to think of the money. On the other side, there's Geppetto and Jiminy Cricket, symbols of his desire to help his audience of Pinocchios and, in turn, free himself from the pressures of shallow success and greed. The video establishes these symbols so effectively that in the end, we don't have to be told which path Peterson chose. The video can just show it. He has transformed into a puppet. Amon Animations proves that weird imagery online can mean something. Not only are these videos incredibly executed, but the weird puppets and animals act as concrete symbols, and the overall weirdness better illustrates the impact that political commentators have. Their rhetoric by design creates chaos and outrage online, and the freaky imagery of Amon Animations shows what that chaos can feel like. It's this meaning behind the weirdness that elevates videos like this one to the status of art.
I am a banana!
From the beginning, the internet has been a refuge for experimental art that couldn't exist in traditional media. Nowadays, corporations are trying to make the internet less weird and more normal, because normal means more advertisers, and more advertisers means more money. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm obviously grateful for the infrastructure that makes channels like mine possible, but I have a deep appreciation for the wonderful playground that the internet started off with. And it's from this strange place that we see the online world at its most creative. And thankfully, there's still space online for the weirdness. Open source software makes animating more accessible than ever, and channels like Amon Animations get funding directly from fans, which is a great way to keep these delightful, not advertiser-friendly videos alive. And we should celebrate these works of art, because they're the kind of videos that make the internet. So the next time you see some strange viral video, consider that it might be more than just weird. It might also be art. Very, very weird art.
Oh, new mommy and daddy.